John McKinney is in. Okay. John McKinney is in the room when I'm not there. What a sad coincidence. Okay, let's pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Yeah, this time I will turn the control to Madam President.
Thank you so much, Sergeant at Palms Bearcat Tocha. It's good to see you. Good to see everyone today. Give yourselves a hand just because you're here on a cold night. Our club mission is that we provide a supportive and positive learning environment in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. And remember our Toastmasters international values. The first is integrity, respect, then service, and then excellence. We are in for a treat tonight. Our Toastmaster of the day will be Greg Allen. And just any announcements at this time, I just want to remind you all of our meeting, our Christmas celebration / social, which will take place December 20th at Tuckapaw Baptist Church. And we all know about Tuckapaw Baptist Church. We ask if there's anyone willing to help sponsor. Please see Mr. Greg Allen to be a part of the committee so that we could have some fun, and more fun. The location of the church is in StarText, and you will find it at the bottom on the back of the agenda. Make sure that you RSVP with him if you plan to attend, and let him know how many you would like to include. Remember, this is also a time for us to share what Toastmasters is all about. So invite your friends, invite your families, have them to come and join us. Are there any other club announcements at this time? That's right. No meeting, no Toastmasters meeting. Enjoy the break. Enjoy your family. Enjoy the time off, but come back ready. First week in January. Okay. Any questions? Let's get moving right along. I present to some, introduce to others, our Toastmaster of the day, Mr. Greg Allen.
Thank you, Val. Welcome everyone to tonight's meeting. I'm excited that we actually have 3 on deck to speak tonight. And I know there are going to be 3 great speeches. And we've got a couple of guests here in the room. I believe these are Randy's brothers, correct? And would you guys like to stand up and maybe tell us, other than Randy being your brother, why you decided to join us this evening?
My name's Gavin. I just wanted to see, what this was all about. Hear some stories. Glad to join y'all. Hopefully, I'll hear some good stories.
Well, we're glad to hear you. Zach, do you care to?
Zachary, I just wanted to see how everything went.
Very good. Well, we're glad to have you both. And I think it's awesome that 2 brothers would come out to support their other brothers. So that's fabulous. So our theme tonight is giving thanks. And I know last week we talked about Thanksgiving, but not the turkey. And so tonight I wanted to take kind of a little twist on giving thanks. A lot of times things go on in our day and it's hard to be thankful. But we're reminded and instructed in the Bible to give thanks in all things. So normally I wouldn't read, but I can't remember all this, so I'm just going to read this to you. Things I am thankful for. That mess you have to clean up after a huge family Thanksgiving dinner means you're surrounded by friends and family. Be thankful. The taxes you have to pay, because that means you're employed. The clothes, because that meant you had plenty to eat. Your shadow who watches you work, because that means you're outside in the sunshine. A lawn that needs mowing, windows that need cleaning, and gutters that need fixing, because that means you have a home. The spot you find at the end of the parking lot when you go shopping Black Friday, because that means you're able to walk. All the complaining I hear about our government, because that means we have freedom of speech. And for that, I'm very thankful for. My huge heating bill, because that means I'm warm. The lady behind me in church who sings off key, and there are quite a few of them, but that means I can hear. The piles of laundry and ironing, because that means my loved ones are nearby. The alarm that goes off in the early morning hours, because that means I'm alive. And for that, I'm very thankful. So again, tonight, I think we have an awesome meeting with 3 speakers tonight. Our general evaluator tonight will be Ms. LaShanne Goins. And I'm going to ask LaShanne if she will introduce her team. Thank you, LaShanne.
Thank you so much, Mr. TMOD. Yes, and tonight we will have a wonderful team of individuals. First, we will have our grammarian, Miss Jamil Tate. If at this time you would stand, come up to the lectern and tell us about your role tonight.
So my role is to give the word of the day, which is resilient, and which means it's an adjective of a person or animal able to withstand or recover quickly from a difficult condition. And an example used in a sentence that I got from the dictionary is babies are generally far more resilient than new parents realize. That's a true statement. And so I'm looking for who used that word, and I'm also going to be looking for any like anything that is a filler. So thank you.
Much. Next, we will have our timer, and I believe that is John Frey. Take it away.
Thank you, LaShanne. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Tonight, I'll be serving as your timer. We have 3 wonderful speakers coming up here shortly. And later on in the program, I'll be keeping the time for our 3 evaluators along with our table topics. So look forward to hearing everybody tonight, and I'll turn it back over to you, LaShanne.
Thank you so much. And your vote counter tonight is truly yours. What I will do is collect and tally all votes for our best speaker, best table topics, and best evaluator. Thank you. All right, at this back.
Froze up, Bearcat.
Yeah, can't hear them.
I'm gonna restart mine, I guess. Maybe that'll help.
Okay.
I don't know if it will or not, but you know.
Can you hear now? Okay. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, my name is Randy Riddle, and usually when people hear the latter part of my name, they think to ask if I know any riddles off the top of my head, or if I know the answers to said riddles, or give them a joke similar to Marlin the clownfish from Finding Nemo. They also usually give reference to the villain, the Riddler from Batman, which happens to be my favorite villain, mine and my dad's. We grew up watching Batman and various other things. Throughout my life, there have been a few things that have shaped me into who I am today. Namely, that I love to spread laughs and smiles to everyone who I encounter. And that came through various forms of voice impressions or making jokes, answering riddles, giving riddles out. And the list goes on and on. A few of the things that I've picked up over the years as far as impressions go, thanks to my little brothers and my little sisters from my dad and stepmom, are watching all the childhood movies that I grew up with all over again. I started to listen to them over and over and over again so I could get these impressions down to the best of my ability. I wound up getting things similar to Mickey Mouse's "Hiya, pal, we're gonna be best friends," or even Stitch's "My family is little and broken, but still good. Yeah, still good." And even Elmo's "Elmo loves you." So apart from all of these things, showing up to parties with little kids, they would love it and come up to me and just go, "Can you please do Stitch? Please do Mickey Mouse." And all of these things, they bring a smile to them, but also to me. And I love seeing the parents just in the background rolling on the floor laughing whenever they see their kids all giddy and start running around trying to mimic the voice themselves. Some of the other things that have shaped me aren't such happy moments. My parents, when I was age 4.5 to 5 years old, they divorced, like so many parents these days, which is a sad thing to hear. But nevertheless, good came out of it, and that it also gave me the urge and built the fire, if you will, within me to spread laughter and cheer to those around me. When I was about 5.5 to 6 years old, I was always raised in church, so I knew that prayer worked. And I also had been taught that God doesn't answer prayers that shouldn't be asked of him. For example, there should never be a 6-year-old who sits in bed at night crying because he hates the fact that his parents divorced and he blames himself for it. So he asks God to take him out so he doesn't have to hear or feel the pain anymore from anything around him. However, things like that, expressing anger to the people around him because he doesn't quite know how to deal with his emotions. He grew up victim to the phrase "real men don't cry," and then later was told you can cry, just not as much as you've been crying. Things like that kind of shaped me and molded me into the person who I am. So I don't like to show any sadness around others because misery truly does love company. And that is not something that I want to spread to anyone who is around me. So typically I am the stereotypical person who not really enjoys, but who keeps the bad inside or finds a way to make a joke out of it. I think it was a few weeks ago, Barraquette had a speech about the types of humor, and he mentioned self-deprecation as a type of humor. And I use that often. oftentimes I use that. So we move on to years later, the resilience that has been built up through different situations and scenarios. In 2016, I had a wreck. I flipped my truck 3 times front to back in a field at 60 miles an hour. And when the airbag came out, it slammed my face against the driver's side window and I shattered it with my head. The glass cut my face, as you would probably assume, and above my left eye, between my eye and my eyebrow, it cut a 4-centimeter gash that went down to the vein and cut a few of the nerves up. So for about 7 to 8 months, I couldn't feel anything sharp or dull or hot or cold, and barely any pressure from here all the way to the middle of my head. However, good came out of that, because with, again, going back to the jokes and things, here I am in the emergency room being stitched up. I've had the MRI with the dialysis, or not dialysis, but I forget the word, the dye that they put in you to make sure that there's nothing goofed up other than the fact that I was born in my head. So we go through that, everything's fine. The nurses are here stitching me up, making sure that I'm not bleeding everywhere, besides the fact that they've already had to use 2 abdomen pads to wrap up my head. As I'm sitting there, I reckon that it's probably a good time to tell the nurses this joke, and I'm sitting here with the stitches going through, wishing I could have something for pain, but I'm too hard-headed to take anything. They've offered it numerous times to give me something for it. And I tell them, well, you know, I've always hated wearing my glasses, so I figured maybe they thought it was time to get revenge and they decided to try and take out my eye. They probably assumed that I wasn't all right in the head, because after I tell them this, they look at my mom and they're just sitting there staring at her, and she says, she just throws her hands up like, that's my child. Something I've always blamed the way that I react to things on is, when I was a kid, my mom, the medicine they gave her so that she couldn't feel all the pains of labor. After I was born, the doctors all got together in their little committee, their bubble, and they said, we shouldn't use that medicine anymore. It messes with kids. That's what happened to me. I had the medicine in me, and I came out similar to the movie Look Who's Talking. The baby gets the medicine and it comes out, rainbow hands are all across the screen. He has about 50 hands. He's worse than an octopus. So then we go on, and the feeling starts to come back in my head, and we continue on this journey of things. All of a sudden, I have a few, there have been deaths through my family throughout that I have attempted to console others with. As I mentioned earlier, I don't like myself to spread any bad negative emotions that I have, so I like to console others. And I often find myself going through and spreading jokes to anyone who happened to be there during those bad times and any other bad times that I see somebody in. And with that, I leave you guys with the walking riddle himself, Randy Riddle. And I thank you all for listening to my speech, Mr. Greg Island.
Thank you with your icebreaker speech. Thank you. Now, if we can have a minute on the timer for our evaluations, pass those around to Randy. Sure, we'll put them in the basket and pass the basket around. Thank you, Madam Timer. So our next speaker, also new to our club, speaking from Presentation Mastery, Level 1, also giving his icebreaker, is Mr. Andre Tate with a speech titled, "The Goodness of God in My Life." Our second speaker tonight is also one of our newest members. He is doing his first speech, the 4 to 6 minute icebreaker from the Presentation Mastery Path. His speech title is "The Goodness of God in My Life." Please give a warm welcome to one of our new members, Andre Tate.
All right. Well, I believe my speech is gonna be a little similar to Randy's because I see God's goodness in your life and saving you through that wreck. But my speech has 3 points, fellow Toastmasters, talking about the goodness of God in my life. And my 3 points are how he has been good to me all the days of my life. I can see how God has been good to me all the days of my life, and how he has saved me and how he has blessed my life. One reason I joined Toastmasters was to be a better speaker, to tell others about, the goodness of God in my life, and how he has blessed me, and how I've come to know him, trust him, and love him. And I want to thank you, fellow Toastmasters and colleagues, for allowing me to share my story about this great story that God has revealed to me. The story I will tell you today, it would deal with some drug use, some past drugs use. It would talk about some bullets, and it would talk about the saving power of God. So, fellow Toastmasters, I'd like to introduce to you Andre Tate, who was born in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Now, my first point I'd like to share is how I believe God has been in my life all the days of my life. My mother had me at a very young age, at the age of about 15. And she told me that before she had me, she had a couple abortions. All right, so that just tells me I could have been number 3. So that shows me that God's hand was on my life. She also told me she had a miscarriage. So that shows me that I don't have to be here. Really, none of us have to be here. If any of you know what it takes to make a baby, like millions of sperms go through and only one gets through to make you and me, and that's a miracle. So that shows me God was on my life. Again, my mother having 2 abortions and also having a miscarriage. The Bible says this, said this about Jeremiah, that God said he knew him when he was even in his mother's womb. And in Psalms 39, it says that every day of our life was written before there was one. So again, that shows me that God's hand was on my life even before I got here. Even as a kid, I had a little story like Randy's, that when I was a kid, I was at the park playing. For some reason, they had asked me to go get some scissors to, I think we was doing some little crafts or something. So the scissors was in my back pocket, and just playing, little kid, and swinging my arm and slit my arm. And that thing, it slit pretty deep. It really slit so deep that it didn't bleed much. I saw a bunch of white bubbles in my arm, Then I had to walk home, and then we had to drive to the hospital, So that shows me that God's had his hand on my life. Another time where I see God's hand was on my life was when I was a little kid. I was probably about 10 years old. And you know what to tell kids: before you cross the street, look both ways. Well, I was riding my bike and I didn't look both ways, and guess what? I got hit by a car. That shows me again that God's hand was on my life. And I remember another time my mother was driving and I almost fell out of the car. Again, that shows me that God's hand was on my life. And again, I believe that his hand has been on my life all my life, even before I even got here. And then as I got older, I began to get into drugs, and I actually got shot twice. this shows me that God's hand has been on my life. And this leads to my next point, how God saved me. When I grew up as Randy, grew up in the church. My granddaddy actually took me to church. He taught me how to pray. But my granddaddy passed when I was probably in the 6th grade, and with to experiment with drinking and begin experimenting with drugs and then marijuana, which led to stronger drugs, which led me to being involved with selling drugs, which led me to one night over on the north side of Spartanburg being shot. A guy got in a confrontation, and he pulled out a gun and unloaded on me, Randy, 5 times. Pow, 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 pow. Shot me 5 times. And I got hit here, and I got hit in the leg. And I guess about 10 years later, the guy that actually gave him the gun said, man, the night that he shot at you, he said the first one did not go off and it was aimed at your head. He was standing behind him. I don't know. I'm just telling you what the guy told me. So I really believe God has had his hand on my life all my life. And he saved me that night. And that was in 1989. About a year later, because I heard Einstein say that the definition of insanity is for someone to keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. So I didn't change, and about a year later, I ended up getting shot at again. I didn't get shot, but I got shot at, and that was in 1990, and that was the year that I surrendered my life to the Lord. So within a year, he saved me physically and he saved me spiritually. And then my last point is how God has truly blessed my life. Since I surrendered my life to the Lord, God has opened up many doors for me to travel the world. I've shared my faith in about 9 different countries. He's blessed my marriage. He's blessed my family. He's blessed my children. And as I conclude, God has been good to me. And I believe even before I was here, he had his hand on my life, even before birth. He's been good to me in saving my soul in 1990, saving my life in 89, and blessed me with great opportunities to travel. Again, blessing my marriage, blessing my family, and blessing my children. And as I close, God's been good to me. Do you know his goodness? He wants you to. I will end with that and turn it back over to Greg.
Thank you for completing your first icebreaker. I was wondering what this was. Wow, what a story, Andre. Wow. Glad you shared that with us. Thank you. Madam Timer, if we could get 1 minute while everyone.
What happened to the basket? We can give those to Randy.
Yeah. So these go to Randy.
Those go to Randy. We'll start another basket for Andre.
I'm gonna tell you, Mr. John, I like that shirt you got on there.
Well, that's Spartan High bike.
Yeah.
Not that
No,
team out of Minnesota.
I agree. I'm with you.
Oh, okay. My Seahawks are not flying too high.
Oh, yeah, they got me. They got Seahawks is good.
Yeah.
I don't know who's back. I'm sorry. He just wearing a shirt.
Well, somebody gave it to me.
Yeah, that's what
They
he
felt
did.
sorry for me.
Thank you, Madam Timer. And last but not least, our final speaker for tonight. And it's great to actually have him in person here tonight, not virtually. And speaking from Effective Coaching, Level 2, Introduction to Toastmasters Mentoring, with a speech titled Mentoring Produces Growth, After experiencing a tragic event in his life, John McKinney has been looking at things in perspective. He's living his purpose. He's not only planning to speak professionally, he wants to make an impact on a lot of people. He's speaking from Pathways Effective Coaching Level 2, Introduction to Toastmasters Mentoring, with a 5 to 7 minute speech titled Mentoring Produces Growth. Please welcome John McKinney.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our illustrious guests. When it comes to mentoring, we think of someone who's going to hold our hand, walk with us through different things in life, share with us about what we need to do to become better people, to be better citizens, be better family members, and so forth. We have mentors that made an impact on our lives through television, books we read, movies, you name it. Most of my mentors were through books. For instance, John Maxwell, he wrote the book 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. He mentored me on how to be a leader. Thus, I'm getting my master's degree in leadership. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant. He taught me about wealth. Dave Ramsey, the same thing. Not only did he teach me about wealth, but he also taught me how to get out of debt. But one of my favorite mentors is a man by the name of Zig Ziglar. He is the author of the book, Born to Win and Over the Top. Over the Top is one of my favorite books. Here's why. There are affirmations in that book. And one of the affirmations in the book says, I, John William McKinney, am an honest, intelligent, responsible, organized, goal-setting, committed individual whose priorities are firmly in place. I am a focused, disciplined, enthusiastic, positive thinking, decisive extramural who is a competent, energized, self-starting team player who is determined to develop and use all of these leadership qualities in my personal, family, and business life. These are the qualities of the winner I was born to be. There's 3 of them in that book, but it's the only one I can remember. There's one gentleman who came into my life back in 1996. I recently buried him last weekend. His name is Thomas Kasor. We met on July 4th of that year. We had a common interest, which was martial arts. This man had a very old soul. And when I mean old soul, for someone as young as he was at the time, was filled with wisdom. This man would punch me, kick me, flip me, throw me up in the air, cause me to land on my head, and teach me about Jesus Christ. He eventually became the godfather of my children. My son adored him. My son would love to see him just to beat me up. But he taught me so much. I consider him as one of my mentors. Let's fast forward a few years. In 2009, I joined Toastmasters. Then I had to drop out. I came back to Toastmasters in 2016. I thought I was just going to do a few speeches and go on home. Come back the following week, do another speech, go on home. Then a year later, I become Sergeant at Arms. Didn't have a clue that was going to happen. That following year, I ended up becoming the club president. Didn't have the slightest clue that was going to happen. During my time as president, I met this man who was a Toastmaster extraordinaire by the name of Lee Holiday. He and I shared a lot of intimate times together during my time as president. In fact, during my time as vice president of public relations also. I've learned so much from Lee. I've learned how to conduct myself as a president. I've learned how to conduct myself as on what to say, what to do. I even learned a lot about being vice president of public relations because Lee is the walking encyclopedia of Toastmasters. You cannot tell me that. So Mr. Lee Holiday, I want to thank you personally from the bottom of my heart for mentoring the way you did. In fact, just last week, I dropped out of the meeting. He messaged me. He knew what happened on November 6th. That's the day that my best friend had passed away. I didn't think I was going to be here today. Lee showed me some tough love. That's what mentoring do. I did not want to come here, but when he messaged me, and I had to share with him, Lee, I'll be back next week. I was not planning to speak, but again, Lee, salute to you for showing me that tough love that I need, and I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, John. That was a fabulous speech. I can't say that I can recite the affirmations from Zig Ziglar, but I do have that printed on a card in my desk at home and at my office.
If anyone's interested, I'll print some copies for everyone.
I think everybody needs that in their pocket and recite it every morning when you wake up and recite it every night before you go to bed. Zig Ziglar was an awesome individual and was a Toastmaster. I don't know if many people know that, but Madam Timer, if we could get 1 minute on the clock as we give John our evaluations. And I believe John is our timer for the evening. John, if we could get a timer's report.
Sure. Sounds good. Randy spoke for 7 minutes and 31 seconds. Mr. Tate spoke for 6 minutes and 55 seconds. And Mr. John McKinney spoke for 5 minutes and 20 seconds. I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, John. And at this time, if you would cast your vote for best speaker. And who is our vote counter this evening? LaShane. If you'll pass your votes to LaShane. Best speaker, correct. And at this time, I will turn control over to our table topics master, Mr. BURNNIE Holiday.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. And look at us. We have had 2 icebreakers today. Let's give our new Toastmasters another round of applause for stepping up to the plate. We are coming up on Thanksgiving, which means that a lot of us will be sitting around the table asking each other, what are we thankful for? And it being such an obvious thing to talk about, I decided to go the opposite direction. Today, I want to talk about regrets. So to illustrate what Table Topics is for our guests, I am going to ask a question. And then I'm going to call on a person to come up to speak for 1 to 2 minutes. Now, to illustrate how this works, I'm going to call upon a seasoned Toastmaster first. So What is something you truly regret? Ms. LaShane Goins.
Master, fellow Toastmasters, and to our honored guest, regrets. Do I have regrets? Certainly I have regrets. Will I change it? Certainly I will not change it. Why? I can't change the past. The only thing I can do is change the future. I use my past to move forward. I use my past to help someone out. Now, what I would like to change? That F I got in college. What I would like to change? That F I got in math in high school. But guess what? The teacher that graduated top of their class, went to a great school like Wofford, and then you had me. I made it into USCS at the time. Guess what? We make the same amount of money. So, do I have regrets? No. What do? I live life and I live it to the fullest. And you know what else? What I don't do is hold out and live down and out. And there's my green light. Thank you.
Thank you very much, LaShane. And now you see how the game is played. I'm going to ask our guests, Gavin, Zach, you game?
Yes, sir.
All right, you're in. It's going to happen. So I'm going to ask another question now about regrets, and that is, what is the biggest thing you have learned from your regrets? Mr. Andre Tate.
Biggest thing I have learned from my regrets. Regrets. Well, I guess I regret maybe, doing drugs, but it was, the use of drugs that led me eventually to the Lord. I know it wasn't the Lord that caused me to do those things. Those were my choices, but my bad choices, the Bible says that God works all things out for the good. So even bad things can work out for the good. So my bad choices, again, I learned to turn to God, and I learned that even in my bad choices, he is always there with me. That's what I've learned from my regrets.
You, Andre, and now we've had two Toastmasters come up here and talk about how they have turned their regrets into positive things. Do you think that is always the case, though? Can we always turn our regrets into something positive we can live by? Zach, come up here and tell us.
Mistakes when you make them, and you can do better on them. That's all I got.
That's right. And just for sake of having a second opinion, I'm going to ask the exact same question. Do you think that regrets can always turn out for the positive? You know what's happening, Gavin.
To basically say, yeah, that all regrets happen for a reason. I mean, all mistakes, everything that we go through makes us into a better person that we are, and we learn from those mistakes to help us to better go on in our lives and to make us into better people, and to help us to continue on so that we don't make the same mistakes, so that we can learn from them. And that's all I got on it.
All right. Zach, Gavin, thank you for being such good sports for this. Mr. Timer, can you give us a timer's report on that, please?
Yes, sir. Coming right up, Bernie. LaShanne spoke for 1 minute and 17 seconds. Mr. Tate spoke for 1 minute and 1 second. Zach came in at 38 seconds. And Gavin closed it out at 54 seconds. I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you very much, sir. If you would, please submit your votes for best table topics of the evening. Virtual attendees, you can send that votes to Lee. Am I correct? Oh, Shane's taking the virtual votes?
Oh, send the virtual votes.
Yeah, virtual votes come to Lee. And while we vote, I will turn things over to our general evaluator, Ms. LaShanne Goins.
Thank you so much, Mr. Table Topics Master. All right, we're having such a great meeting tonight. Loved all the speakers. So we're going to move forward and listen to what our evaluators have to say. First up, we have evaluating Mr. Randy Riddle, Mr. John Abercrombie.
Fellow Toastmasters and Randy Riddle. It's no riddle why you are here. And you have demonstrated during the time that you are here that you are resilient. One of the things that you had asked me about was clutching of the lectern. That certainly did not happen tonight, because what we saw was almost like an astronaut, because Randy has talked about being a speaker, public speaker. And I think we saw the launching of a career starting right here. There was an ability to relate to the audience, to share intimate experiences. And the contact with the audience was absolutely amazing. So I think that we did that. I can remember back to the time, and I think every Toastmaster in this room can remember the trepidations that we had as we came forward for the very first time. I saw a lot of openness in terms of gestures, in terms of not being afraid to try things out, to use the voices, and certainly there was a lot of interaction that takes place there. What we saw was an icebreaker that could have come from a much more experienced presenter. But what we saw was a connection made, a connection between a speaker and the audience. You felt comfortable with what he was talking about. He was able to share some of those intimate moments. And so that's one of the tributes that comes to a person willing to share. We often get up and don't want to let people know who or what we are. And when we do that, we close them out. But I think we saw a family group, a family gathering tonight of a person willing to open up and share. And we saw the beginning of an excellent, excellent career. I want to thank Randy for being here, sharing. He has always stepped up anytime he's been needed for any role. And I think that also is a compliment to the fellow Toastmasters, because it is our intent to have people feel comfortable knowing that they can come in, that they can try things, that they can open up, because we are a laboratory. And I think we saw an excellent performance on that part tonight. Mr. Toastmaster. Or Mr. Evaluator. This is Bill.
Next up, evaluating our second icebreaker speaker, Mr. Andre Tate. We have Mr. Lee Holiday.
Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and our two special guests in this meeting. And Andre, wow, I was looking forward to this and you delivered, my brother. You were great. What I heard tonight, first of all, was an organized speech. You let us know right at the beginning, this was going to be an organized presentation. You said, I have 3 points. And then you gave us those 3 points as you got into your speech. That was awesome. That was so good for a beginning speaker to be able to do that. I really liked it. There were some ahs as you went along, but those will disappear as you practice this more and more, become more aware of them. One of the things you've got is great volume, sort of like me. And sometimes I have to remember to take it down a notch because this room is large enough to have a little lower volume and still have effect, but it gives you the opportunity to try something else out, Andre, as you go along, to speak softly, to get people to listen closely, and then raise it up to make a point. You've got the voice to be able to do that, and that's going to be great. One of the things that I really liked at one point in your speech, to demonstrate what you were talking about, you got that gesture in there, and you got those words in there that made the point better than anything else could have. It was pow, 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 pow. There was no question in our minds what you were talking about, and you solidified what you were saying with those 5 words in that gesture. Something I saw tonight, which was really, really nice, was a man come up here well attired, looking nice. We need to think about that. When we're in Toastmasters, we are practicing for other opportunities. Andre, from when he stands in the pulpit at his church, but other times too, right, Andre? When you're speaking to other opportunities outside of the church, there are opportunities for all of us to deliver speeches, and this is where we practice. So it's okay to put on a jacket or do whatever else you think will make you look sharp. You want to catch people's attention by how sharp you look, and you did it tonight, Andre. Wonderful. One of the things I noticed you doing, and you didn't know this was not something you shouldn't do, so I'm just going to tell you so you'll know the next time. You had that hand in your pocket for about half of your speech. And people wonder what you've got in that pocket when you've got your hand in that pocket. So I'm going to suggest to you, take the hand out of the pocket, you let your hands just hang by your side until you're ready to make a gesture, and then bring them up and make big gestures as you go along. Tonight, I was so engaged in your speech. It was incredible, and I look forward to the next one from you. Thanks for a great one. Madam General Evaluator.
So much, Lee. Next up, we will have evaluating our third speaker, which was, who was John McKinney. Bearcat, told you. Take it away.
Thank you, Madam Evaluator. Fellow Toastmasters and our wonderful guests, Randy's brothers, right? And most importantly, the speaker who only showed up when I was there, when I wasn't there, John McKinney. Actually, today for me, we have 3 icebreakers because I've never seen John speak on a stage. This is how John McKinney is on stage, and I really liked it. A really wonderful presentation. Your speech was, John, very sweet and short, precise and to the point. I really liked it. And even though I'm learning the language, I can understand even the affirmations. One thing I would say that maybe it's because, as I said, I'm learning, but at least when you give us the examples, the affirmations, it was a little bit faster, maybe, or I'm not sure if the example you want to mention or the example you want to share with us required that speed, but it would have been much easier to understand, and it will make it more clear if you take pauses in between. But other than that, the speech was very clear. I really liked your gestures. That's why I'm excited. Like, I consider this as the icebreaker, at least for me. Even though I remember you make some of your speeches stand up, but still on Zoom, right? Unable to see most of your gestures. But today it was really great. Eye contact, I think it's to the point, even though I'm the one on Zoom, but thanks to Bernie, it was clear. And I also, it was really impressive, your comfort level. I know you are a seasoned Toastmaster, but still, your comfort level was way up high. Thank you so much for a wonderful speech and the opportunity to evaluate you. I have to listen to your speech very carefully so that I can get something to tell you, some feedback to give it to you. Okay, I hope most of the grammarian's report tonight will be about my scrambles. I'll end up right now. Thank you. Thank you so much. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Mr. Coulter. And next up, we will have our grammarian wordmaster report by Miss Jamil Tate.
So for like and that kind of words, clutch words, we had 22, and word of the day, we had 3.
Thank you so much, Miss Tate. And now I will give my overall. May I get the timer's report, please? Mr. Timer?
Yes, ma'am. Coming right up. Mr. John Abercrombie spoke for 2 minutes and 55 seconds. Mr. Lee Holiday spoke for 3 minutes and 25 seconds. And Burkett spoke for 3 minutes and 17 seconds. I'll turn it back over to you, Ms. Jane.
Thank you so much. And at this time, will everybody please cast your vote for general, no, why can I never get that word? For the best evaluator. And I'm going to move forward in giving my report. I want to say that even with our Sergeant at Arms being on Zoom, I tell you, he is never late. He is always on time, and we appreciate you for doing that. I want to say, as the president, there is one thing that is part of my duty, and I neglected that on today, and that would be to acknowledge and honor our guests. But what took place today was that our Toastmaster of the day showed integrity, respect, service, and excellence. And he filled in for what I did not do well. Greg, you smoothly handled this mistake. It was seamlessly, and I don't know if anyone really noticed it. Great job there. You were full of life when you came up and you spoke. When you gave that speech, that allowed us to think, and it was just what we need in this time. Great job. Technology, those things happen. But the one thing I love about Spartanburg Toastmasters number 1453 is that we don't let it bother us. And we went into our speeches. Randy, wow. I can't wait. I believe someone said, you're going to be famous one day. And I'm going to be able to say, I knew him. Was that you, Lee? We're going to say that one day. Awesome job. And Andre, oh my, what a walking miracle you are. You were open and you shared your life with us. Many people don't do that, but you did, and we appreciate you for that. Amazing icebreaker. John, we missed you. When you stood up here and you spoke, something in me just had a rush. That was awesome. And I want you to know that you make a difference in the lives of others. You do, and I want you to remember that. To Mr. Timer, we thank you for stepping up tonight as our timer and doing your job. There was just one little mistake, and you should have seen the face on Randy when that timer's report came. He was like, oh my goodness, I went over by that much. But I'm here to tell you, you did not go over by that much. You followed the lights and you followed it very well. And guess what? I didn't care because I wanted you to talk even more and more and more. So that was great.
Sorry, Randy.
That was a great job, John. And to our table topics master, I love the way you set things up tonight. You set it up, you started off by allowing, I guess a seasoned, you can say seasoned Toastmaster speak to show our guest. And then you went to a new Toastmaster, and then you allowed our guest to speak. And to everyone, listen, you cheered everyone on in spite of coming up and being nervous. Thank you guys for your participation tonight in Toastmasters. Let's give them a round of applause. There's that word again, evaluators. John, you connected with your speaker. You gave him great feedback, nice encouragement. You were open. You talked about his openness and his connection. Great job, Lee. You talked about the areas where he did great. You gave him great feedback. But what I love most about your feedback is that you talked specifically to him about the areas that he could improve. And I believe that's why Andre's here. to improve. That's why we're all here. That really makes a difference in an evaluation. Bearcat, great job. Can't wait to see you again, but I know you're enjoying that family. You were specific in giving your feedback. What I love most about you is that you were funny. You were funny. You brought life to your evaluation. And that is the end of my evaluation report. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to our Toastmaster of the day, Mr.
Evaluator. Wow, has this been a great meeting or what? I mean, I'm just excited that we had this meeting, and I'm going to give LaShane a moment or two to tally our votes before she announces our award winners this evening. And I just would like to remind everybody as you go through this week, and as Bernie kind of pointed out, and I already pointed out, it's real easy to be thankful for the easy things. I mean, we're all thankful to be alive and have a house, and job, and what have you. But as you spend time with your family this week, I want you to think about those who prepared the meal. A lot of times it's the woman. I don't mean that in a sexist way, but a lot of times it is the wife or the mom or the grandmother, and we don't always recognize how much they put into putting a feast together. The hours shopping, the hours cooking, cleaning up afterwards, when most of us guys just want to run off and watch football on the TV. So I just want to remind everybody, be sure to thank those people that put these gatherings together. And just as LaShane pointed out, we don't always recognize what Lee does behind the scenes or what LaShane does behind the scenes. Bernie does a lot behind the scenes to keep this meeting going. We're very thankful for all of that. And I'll ask Gavin and Zachary, would you guys like to give some feedback on what you thought about tonight's meeting? And you can just stand up if you want right there.
It was very, I loved seeing the inspirement of each and every one, the motivation that y'all all gave to each speaker, and the feedback. It was very, very inspirational, and I just really love it. It was very warm here, very loving.
Thank you.
It was very fun here, and I like to hear all y'all's experiences on everything. It was very exciting. Y'all had very positive attitudes and everything like that, and thank you for having us.
Thank you for coming. And are there any announcements before we get to the winners for this evening? I'll remind everyone, please either email me or text me if you'll be attending our holiday social event on the 20th, just so we can get a head count. And so far we've got, okay. So far we have myself, Sharice, Cheryl, and LaShane willing to help out in putting this all together. We could certainly use some more volunteers, because you know it takes a team to put these together. And LaShane, if you'd like to announce our winners.
Everyone's a winner tonight. Everyone's a winner. I want to say to our new members who gave icebreaker speeches, we applaud you again. Great job on your speeches. Tonight, best evaluator goes to Mr. Lee Holiday. And best table topics, in spite of my laziness at the very end, went to truly yours. Thank you, guys. Our best speaker goes to Mr. John McKinney.
turn it over to you.
All right, so we can get the three winners up here to get their picture. We haven't done this in a long time.
I know, right?
So this is exciting as well.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to, Bernie, you're in the picture too, but you can crop you out if you want. Everybody say cheese.
Cheese.
There you go. All right.
Before Greg comes back to the lectern, I want to point out that the sign-up sheet for the next 3 meetings is showing on the screen. John Frey will be our Toastmaster next week. John, Toastmaster of the day. Our general evaluator will be Greg Allen. Our 3 speakers are Alex Dahlstrom, LaShanne Goins, LaShanne Goins, and Bearcat Tolcha. So we'll look forward to that. You can all see your roles. Be sure to confirm online your role early in the week, not the last minute. And speakers, please get us your information in soon so that the Toastmaster of the day can be well prepared for that meeting. Once again, I'll just remind you, as Greg has already, he may say something else about it, I don't know, but on the 20th of December, we'll have our social and celebration time, and hope you'll all come out to Tuckapaw Baptist Church in the fellowship building. The address is on the agenda. It's on the homepage of our website. It was in the email I sent out to you today. If you want you to bring family and friends with you, but just let Greg know at an RSVP how many are coming with you so we can get a good count, and let's have a grand time. Just relax and have fun. John.
I mentioned about the affirmations. I know you mentioned you wanted a copy or whatever. If anyone wants one, if you don't mind, give me your email address and I can email it.
John, if you'll email it to me, I'll send it to all the members. How about that?
That'd be great.
Okay.
Awesome.
Great. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thanks, Lee. So I will make another announcement as the area director. And I know Lee's probably going to send out an email about it if he hasn't already. But if you bring a guest and that guest becomes a member, you will receive a $25 gift certificate from the district if they join now. If they renew their dues next summer, then you'll get another gift certificate from the district. So a little incentive to try to, invite some guests and build our membership. And with that, if there are no other announcements, I wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving. Hope you all get to enjoy time spent with friends and family. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.